Welcome to U.S. News Source Channel. Powerful explosions took place on the territory of Russia. Military points were seriously damaged by the force of the successive explosions. War is now felt in the lands and skies of Russia. One after another, explosions occurred in every Belgorod and Kursk region of Russia. These explosions mobilized Russia. At least 2 explosions were heard in Belgorod at night. Moreover, explosions took place in the Kursk region right after. Military points were shaken due to the fact that the explosions in the regions were quite strong. It has been reported that Russian military points were targeted in these 2 regions. It was claimed that the flames rose in the hit areas. Since these regions are very close to the Ukrainian border, it made us think that the attacks were carried out by Ukraine. However, there was no statement from Kiev. Mutual attacks also increase tensions between countries. Moreover, war can expand its scope at any moment. Aid to Kiev and the sanctions imposed on Moscow have caused Russia to be at odds with many countries around the world. War no longer only covers these countries. Tension has now reached the line level. Russian ships in the Black Sea took action. NATO and many countries had announced that they could provide various types of physical responses to possible Russian moves, and took action after the alarming statements. In fact, measures and exercises were carried out in many border regions immediately afterwards. Even military resources have been deployed in the regions. Moreover, one of the deployed areas was very close to one of Russia's most key border areas. Upon this, Moscow acted in panic when it saw the NATO vehicles approaching the region. Russia has started exercises in this key region, Kaliningrad. According to the statements, these command staff exercises were launched with more than 1,500 soldiers, more than 10 warships and aircraft. Baltic Fleet of the Russian Federation stated that the tactical ship groups in the exercise will leave their bases at certain hours and the fleet forces will be deployed to certain regions of the Baltic Sea and perform their exercise missions. With these exercises, military ship groups at sea will practice missile and artillery attacks in order to hit ships and planes in possible attacks. At the same time, it is reported that defense units against underwater units and vehicles will be deployed to fulfill the tasks of protecting the ships and submarines of the Baltic Sea Fleet from possible attack and reconnaissance groups. With this move, Russia has also proven that it is panicked. Moreover, this is seen as intimidation against NATO countries. However, as it is known, the realization of such a situation will most affect Russia, which is almost alone. If Moscow opposes NATO, it will face much more serious sanctions, and it will experience military and economic problems because of its bad relations with many countries. For this reason, keeping good relations between countries has a very important place in the course of the war. War continues on the territory of Ukraine, increasing its intensity. The most intense clashes of recent times are taking place on the Donetsk front. In the past days, 40 rockets were fired in the region, devastating attacks were carried out, and Russian military points were also seriously damaged. This time, more than 15 explosions were reported from the front. These attacks were carried out against the Russian military points in the Kuibishevsky region on the front. At the same time, it was stated that the attacks could have been carried out either with the highly advanced Vampire complex or with the 15-Grad MLRS rocket. Probability of artillery and various attacks against Russian military points in the region is increasing. Moreover, the region chosen by the Ukrainian army, which is targeting a strategic region with each passing day, is critical because of its location. This Kuibishevsky district, as it is known, is located in the center of Donetsk. In such central regions, the most critical points in the regions are targeted, since the headquarters of the Russian commanders may be located. Such reasons also increase the intensity of conflicts in the regions. It is also known that experienced and high-ranking soldiers take part in such headquarters. Russia, on the other hand, has very few of these soldiers left. It can be said that this was due to the strategic mistakes made since the beginning of the war and the correct moves of the Ukrainian army. Scarcity of these experienced soldiers also increases their importance. Because most of the available Russian military resources consist of mobilized inexperienced soldiers. This greatly affects the offensive power and strategic progress of the Russian army on the fronts. Moreover, every day, Russian military positions in such important regions are neutralized with strong attacks. Explosions took place on the Zaporizhia front as well. More than 10 explosions were heard from the region, and countries were alarmed due to the critical location of the region. As it is known, the region connects both the eastern and southern fronts, borders the Sea of Azov, and houses the largest nuclear facility in Europe. Fact that it connects the southern and eastern regions makes it difficult for the Russian soldiers stationed in the region to provide logistics flow between the fronts if they cannot maintain dominance. This will cause them to remain operationally weak. Fact that some regions on the front are located on the border of the Azov Sea worries Russia on behalf of its ships. Reason for this is that the Russian ships in this sea provide sea communication. If maritime communication is interrupted, if an operation is carried out against Russian ships at sea, crisis management will not be provided and the losses will reach serious dimensions. Various operations have been carried out on this front since the beginning of the war, and both sides have suffered significant losses with the attacks carried out. Moreover, it was reported that a railway junction in the region was also hit. Area was damaged by the explosions. Such points are of great importance for the realization of the Russian supply flow. As a result of hitting these military points, the power of the Russian army in the front decreases. At the same time, the advance of the Ukrainian armed forces in a strategic direction on the fronts puts the Russian army under great strain. After these moves, Russia took action in the sea. Russia has deployed cruise missile-laden ships to the Black Sea again. Currently, there are ships in this sea that launch at least 5-caliber cruise missiles. It was estimated that Russia deployed these missiles to carry out an attack. Then massive missile attacks were launched. During the day, missile attacks were carried out against the territory of Ukraine. In these attacks, however, Moscow did not want it, and the defense of the Ukrainian Air Force drew attention with its successful moves. According to the statements, a total of 74 missiles were launched against 5 different regions on the territory of Ukraine. It was stated that 70 of them were cruise missiles and 4 of them were guided aircraft missiles. Moreover, it was claimed that the Ukrainian Air Defense Forces shot down 60 of these missiles. Considering that each of these cruise missiles is worth millions of dollars, we can predict that Moscow will have to deal with serious economic problems. However, Russia may want this situation to occur as a result of damages on the Ukrainian side. Because many such airstrikes are carried out against infrastructures. As a result of these attacks, it was reported that major damage occurred to the energy infrastructure of a company in Ukraine. It was announced that one of the facilities of Tech, Ukraine's largest private energy company, was repeatedly attacked and seriously damaged. It was also reported that this facility was disconnected from the electricity grid. It is known that after the attacks ended, the repair works started at the facility. According to the company's statement, the energy facilities of this company were attacked 20 times by Russia in September-December. Russia may want the economic problems it has experienced with these attacks to live in Ukraine. He may also want the country to deal with different problems and not focus on war. However, considering the fact that Russia is experiencing economic difficulties, the destruction of each of these expensive missiles costs Moscow millions of dollars. For this, it has become necessary to carry out all kinds of attacks carried out on the fronts in a strategic direction. In the future, it will be seen more clearly in which direction the moves will be made. In these days when the violence of the war has increased, each move is much more important than the previous one. Every attack carried out and any operation carried out on the fronts are now of critical importance. We'll see what happens in the next few days. We have reached the end of another video. You can support us by liking the video. You can easily follow new videos by subscribing. I wish you all a war-free day. See you.